situation. You could give us an update about that and what you're gonna do going forward after you hear the brass tacks.
Well, our action has not been based on brass tacks. This matter came to our attention, and Barbadians will have seen that we issued a statement on this on Monday, because we've been managing this matter since last Monday. Last Monday, I believe that was the 19th of February, the matter came to our attention, and immediately I called Dr. Allen, who's the individual who said that she was representing the residents. I called, I spoke with her, I heard from her clearly what were the areas of concern. Based on those areas of concern, I reached out immediately to Digicel. I asked them to do a few things. One was to make sure that the generator that was causing the noise and emissions that was associated with the cell on wheels tower, which is a temporary cell tower, to make sure that that was removed. And they took that action to make sure it was immediately removed. The issue of emissions and how the proximity of the cell tower might affect people's health, that was also raised. And again, last week, we did some testing of the emissions and also looked at the historical record. Now, we use international benchmarks to make sure that the emissions related to cell towers are within the international range for what is considered safe. We were satisfied at that time that in fact the emissions for Digicel's towers never go above 5% of that international benchmark. So less than 5% of what is recommended as a safe range. The issues that remain are really properly the purview of the Planning and Development Department, what people used to know as town planning. And I'll tell you a bit how that operates. When any utility wants to establish a cell tower, they must normally apply for planning permission. Now, this cell on wheels tower is temporary, and so perhaps there may have been some confusion on the part of the utility whether a planning permission is required. But how it normally operates is that a planning permission is sought. The Planning and Development Department would reach out to the telecoms unit of NIST, and they would also seek comments from the Ministry of Health and so on. So the Planning and Development Department is the responsible agency for the issue of placement of towers. That's the first thing to clarify. And so, having dealt with the emissions issue, having dealt with the noise nuisance and the emissions from the diesel generator that had been removed, we then turned with Digicel on a conversation about whether they need to apply for planning approval. They were required to apply for planning approval, and they did submit that application last week. Now, the simple fact is this: if the planning approval is not granted, the cell tower will need to be removed. That's what happens with most planning applications. The approval that they applied for is what's known as a retention application. So because the thing is already there, any citizen who has already constructed something for which they did not seek prior approval can submit a retention application. Let me be clear. If Digicel's application to town planning is not approved, the tower will have to be removed. And that's due process taking its course. Now, I wanted to take good care and address this matter for a few reasons. One, of course, I also saw a comment that the residents were not able to contact their Member of Parliament, who I spoke with as he was getting on a plane to go and represent the business of the government of people of Barbados in key trade issues that affect our small business operators and our business here in Barbados. We spoke, and he said to me, well, you know, Marsha, not just as a representative of the government, but as a colleague in Parliament, you know, you need to make sure that the people in this community are not being taken advantage of. And I said to Minister Simmons, absolutely, that is a commitment that this Barbados Labour Party government has made, and that will be done. I've also conferred with Mr. Duguid as Minister responsible for planning in order for us to have a way forward. The simple answer here, they were required to apply for planning approval. If planning approval is not granted, the tower will be removed.